Why AI will take your job. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your hashtag recession-busting instant coffee, and let's have a talk about how AI is apparently going to steal everyone's job. And, well, maybe it deserves it. So let's look at a couple of articles and then, well, some experiences that viewers and myself have had of it. Now, the first one I want to bring to your attention is this article here. Now, a Crohn's sufferer wins a $22,000 payout after a boss said the firm would need a different path when she took time off. Now, my wife and I, we've run our architectural practice for many years. Not quite as long as my Santa beard is appearing to convey, but we've done it for a while. Actually, yeah, pretty long now. And we hire a lot of people. We used to have, I think we got up to 10, maybe even higher, if I'm remembering wrong. And we'd give people, or would hire students as their first job. We went through a degree where you would work 4 days in an office, and just remember that, and do 1 day at university, which was fantastic because you got real income. You weren't working a crappy retail job that wouldn't really help your career. You were learning skills that you could apply to your university study. And you came out completely broken already because you had no fantasies of what the profession was about. So that was invaluable. Now we started our own business when we graduated, and we had one student, and he was a nice guy, but he was sick. Something was going on, so we kept him on. We gave him time off. We needed to go to doctor's appointments back and forth to figure out what was going on. And it got to the point where we sat down and going, we can't keep doing this. We need someone that can actually be here, permanently, or as much as, more hours that we can depend upon. We really tried to work something out. He completely understood. He appreciated it. He went on. Now I'm thinking back last night, I think I chatted to him online. He's got a great position and a big job, and his health issues are all sorted. So we were there, doing our best to help him, but we were a small business. And in a small business, if something happens and your staff can't perform, or someone's sick or something, they need to rush home for a family emergency, you have to step up and assume the work that they were going to do so your employee can take care of life, take care of families, take care of an emergency. And that's normal. You do that, okay? There should be a bit of give and take in a relationship like that. These are people that you hopefully like the fact that you employed them and you want to help them out. And hopefully you're making money off the labor they provide you. That's why I don't understand all these bloody articles I see of, or even these short clips where there's employee-employer interaction, where the manager, and obviously it's not an owner, it's like a middle manager peon that's been promoted above themselves, that are talking like a complete and utter nutter. Saying, you have to come in from your holiday. You can't have time off for someone dying. Or you can't recover in the hospital. That's bullshit. Those people are idiots anyway. So that's my personal experience with this exact situation. But, here's the thing. When you're running a business, you're a parent. Particularly in Australia. It's very, very little difference. And, I'm a parent of 7, coming on 8. And I can relate it. Maybe that's what we'll hit, the number of staff and the number of kids. I'll finally replace that office. Don't tell Rachel, that's the plan. So you take a lot of parental responsibilities on for your staff. You've got to pay for their savings. They can't save themselves. The government says, no, the average Aussie is too stupid. You've got to pay for their super, you've got to pay their taxes. No, the average Aussie can't pay their own taxes. You've got to do that for them. Now, I know people don't have that choice anymore, but that's the society we're in. Remember, we're not just the prisoners here on the colony, we're the prison guards as well. So let's look at this. An accountancy firm worker with Crohn's disease won more than £22,000 in a discrimination claim after her boss said the company needed to chart a different path when she needed time off for treatment. She'd been in the job just 8 weeks when a manager messaged her and said he needed continuity in the office and employment tribunal heard. So a new hire, 2 months in, and if they're taking time off and you don't have someone in the office for this role, I think it's a reception role, you've got to see it from the employer's perspective. You're hiring someone to do a job. If they're not there to do it, you need to work something out. Maybe they can't do it. She was going to be on and off, he said, and they should talk about charting a different path. The admin worker, now remember this, she's an admin worker, had been off for between 6 and 8 days across the 2-month period due to the inflammatory bowel condition, the hearing was told. Okay, 6 to 8 days, yeah, that's, what, a week? So she's been there 8 weeks and she's had a week off. So that can cause disruptions in a workplace if someone is taking that much time off. I mean, you've got to find a way to work around it. Can you, what's more concerning, could you plan it? She probably couldn't. This is beyond her control. Well, it is and it isn't. You hear the stories of people managing this illness with much greater quality of life when they switch to a carnivore diet, but I don't know if that's mainstream yet. Give it another decade, guys. It'll get mainstream. She's now successfully sued the firm, Main's partners, and the director for disability discrimination. The tribunal found there was no consideration of adjustments that could have helped her stay in her job, and that a non-disabled colleague would not have been treated in the same way. So they're considering this disease or disability, which, well, it is chronic, isn't it? And she's been awarded compensation. So there you go, the poor woman. She's got to live with this. And, she's an accountant's assistant and administrator. So this is a pretty low-level job. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up this article and the reason why we're discussing AI is, well, I mean, accounting, administration job, a starter job. This is a starter job in your career, everyone. And, well, what do you think these large language models can do? Do you think they could do the role of an accountant's assistant or an administrator? If you were in a business and you're facing the risk of employing someone, and then you pull them aside again, we've got to work something out here. We're struggling to get the work done. You're not here for the role. They can sue you for discrimination, rightfully or wrongfully. That's a separate argument. Or you can get a large language model, set up an agent in Copilot, and use it to process the data. What if you need someone to answer the phones? You can remove the risk. You can remove the problem of potential sexual harassment claims in the workplace, people taking sick leave, people potentially stealing stuff, staff members being just day-to-day issues and emotional problems, and replace it with a chatbot, an AI chatbot that can answer the phones and then forward calls, or one that can do administrative, clerical issues, transferring data around, filling forms, doing paperwork, those type of things. This job is one that I would argue could really be impacted by AI. And, well, this isn't the only reason why a business might consider this, because here in Australia, of course, we don't like to work. Let me overlay this. Here we go. We don't like to work. Now, the unions are pushing for a 4-day week, and these are some news articles here. Unions push for shorter working hours, including a 4-day week. Peak union body calls for a 4-day working week. Now, we have a productivity issue here in Australia. We've got cost of living crisis where everything is getting more and more expensive. So the unions are calling, and I can understand why they want to do it. They need to provide fluff and benefits to their members. And what's the best thing? Only working 4 days a week. And of course, you're going to have to pay them the same amount. Now, if you haven't run a business before, if you haven't hired staff before, saying you can get it all done in 4 days, it's going to backfire for 2 reasons. One, they're going to be the people that do only work the 4 days. They're going to be the civil servants and the bludgers that you've got anyway. That'll happily do it. You've got a reduced productivity and competitivity compared to the rest of the world, because there'll be other countries that don't do it. Then you'll have the blokes, guaranteed it's the blokes, that will say, stuff this, I'm working more, got to stack those big fat bags, got to buy my Satoshi, got to build my future. That'll go, no, I'm working more than 4 days a week. Can you see them getting arrested here in Australia for working too much? Are we turning into France, where the government regulates businesses so much you can't even put in extra effort? This is the thing. This is the jackboot of mediocrity. They want to keep you all the same, all down. You can't even work extra. I mean, I've got no problems with people working 4 days a week if that's the deal you make, but it shouldn't come down from the state. 4 day a week on union agenda. Greens back at call. Oh boy, who's shocked that the Greens back at call for a 4 day a week? I bloody well I'm not. I know the arguments that you could be more productive, but all that happens is you just cram your full hours into 4 days. So you're doing 12-hour days. You'll be doing 4 12-hour days then. So there's another argument for hiring a bot. You don't have to deal with all this crap. You don't have to deal with the unions for the bots, do you? For the AI. Now let's look at this the survey I put out, asking my viewers if you use the large language models at work, and well, elaborate in the comments. Before with that, I'll just talk about my experiences using these large language models. Now, I'm an architect. People have been trying to use artificial intelligence, computational design, since the 70s and 80s in architecture, trying to optimize design, trying to allow users greater input in the design process, because, well, plans can be quite difficult to read and understand. The number of times you present something to a room of people and you've got draw plans up there and they can't read them, they don't understand, and people want to be polite, they'll just nod, then they'll get shitty when they see it in person. That's why a lot of it is 3D visualization. So I'm not worried that architecture is going to be replaced by bots, because, well, or large language models. I'm worried. Well, no. I'm worried that a lot of the entry-level positions in the profession are going to be even harder to come by. As I said, I used to have staff. We don't anymore. One way I've reduced my need for support staff is, well, I work longer hours, but we use technology. I use 3D BIM forever now. I haven't done a 2D drawing in how long? I can't remember. That increases my efficiency. When I work with consultants, I'll bring in their 3D models. It will help me coordinate much quicker than the old 2D method, laying plans on top of each other. And it's really easy to see, okay, yep, that fits, that collides, that's an issue there, boom, boom, boom. I invested in a LiDAR scanner, so I'll go and do point cloud scans of every job. So in the past, you need at least 2 people to do a measure up. You go there with a tape measure, laser, boom, 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 a few laser shots. You go home or to the office and draw it up, and oh shit, you missed a measurement, you got to go back again. Oh wait, these aren't adding up, I'll fudge it there. Yeah, she'll be right. Lasers at a slight angle, that wall's slightly different at that point, all of these things. It's just, particularly in Queenslanders, guys, oh boy. So I've invested that. Now I can do a scan of an entire school precinct, which would take, well, multiple staff days in a few hours. And, well, that's increased my efficiency. This is where I see large language models helping, at least in my profession. I treat it as a web scraper with a human-level text interface, kind of like Star Trek. Yesterday, I'm reading through a town plan, and I see an overlay for a site where we're going to look at a project. So I asked Copilot, which is the one I get with my Microsoft, what are the impacts of this particular overlay on this location, on this town plan, this city? It wrote up what the impacts were, and it gives me links and references, which is the good thing with Copilot. It doesn't seem to hallucinate as much as the other ones. And it found me some obscure Word document from a council website with all the requirements and impacts of this overlay. And if you don't know what an overlay is, you've got a town plan, and they're different requirements. Like you may be in a character zone, or you may be in a bushfire zone, or you may be in a flood area, or they may have a corridor for natural water flow. These type of things, and that impacts what you can build and design on these spaces. This is how the town plan is meant to work. And this one, I thought, okay, it was a urban waterway, so it would potentially require an environmental investigation or an environmental plan. So that probably flagged, okay, we may need another consultant there. And sure, I could have done it myself. In the past, I would have gone to the council website, or maybe even go in boomer mode and pick up the phone and ring up, and so they can point me to it, or I'd have to search through a website to dig for this information. Or it'd be something you'd give to the staff member, and your junior person would get that experience digging through all this rubbish. It's a lot easier now with all the councils having to put everything online. It's much easier to find it. Or you ring up your town planner mate if you've got them on the job already. But now I don't need to. I can type in a question. This large language model can access the information and provide it to me in an understandable format, but also the links so I can verify it and check it. That's a huge time saver. Because with every council here is different. When you're working across around the state, maybe even other states, it really takes time to find that information. So there you go. Another one I use it for quite regularly is asking specific questions about the software and tools that I use. So I use Rivet from Autodesk. I've been using it for years now. I'm old, stuck in my way, boomer mode activate. So when there's a new tool or new feature or something I haven't encountered before, rather than going to the Autodesk website and reading through all their rubbish, I'll ask the large language model. It'll give me a summary explaining what the tool is and what it does. Fantastic. If I have an IT issue or a programming issue or I need a script written, I'll ask it that. I know it's just getting stuff from old forums. It's scraping Slack and all these other things which I would have had to have gone through. Now I don't. I've had it build little scripts that help me automate my Access database for my business. So that's, what I would normally have either spent hours learning myself or hired someone on Fiverr. I can use that. But you've got to have a level of understanding to ask specific questions and to know, to understand the code that it's spitting out, what's going on. But in that regards, it's really, really useful. So it's increasing my efficiency. So it's going to reduce the need. Hang on, we'll overlay the other one, not this lady. Thank you, lady. You can go. We'll overlay this one here. So it's increasing my efficiency and reducing the need on other people. So, and the one thing is you can't sue a large language model, can you? So let's have a look. 51% said yes, and it has impacted my work in a positive way. And we'll put the newest first. Yes, and it has impacted my work in a negative way was 7%. 37% no, but it has not impacted my work. And 6% said yes, and it has taken my job. Now, there are a few articles out there about AI impacting or destroying jobs or businesses. And sure, we'll look at those probably in another video. But, the point I wanted to ram home here is there is a risk with employing people. There is a risk. You don't know what it could be. Every time you employ someone, there is a risk. They could be a complete and utter psycho. They could come in and you got to deal with this shit. You don't want to deal with this shit. You just want to run your job, run your business. It's hard enough making enough money running a business without having to deal with some nutcase. So trolley collector, no AI in trolleys, but I have a machine. It's not as efficient as with the new plastic trolleys. Okay, yeah, how could you do it with trolley collecting? I wonder if you could get a machine to automate collecting it. That'd be a lot of money to do maybe one day. Software engineering can do a week's worth of coding in a few hours thanks to agent AIs. This is it. This is improving people's efficiencies. One thing you've got to understand, you need to see how you can leverage this technology to be more efficient because your competitors will. And if it's not your local competitor, it's your offshore competitors. Ask Grok how to legally avoid paying taxes. Stay below Australia. This guy, he's always about not paying taxes, and I respect that. But you got to live like a poor bastard, 18 grand. 18 grand is nothing these days. Ben's going, I spend a lot of time on the tools and in traffic. It's a fantastic notepad, much better than the Google thing, and allows for a different viewpoint and summary of ideas. But I wouldn't outsource my mental faculties and moral compass to it. It's just another tool with pros and cons. That seems like a mature view. I'm in AI apps all day. I pay for Grok and use AI voiceovers, create music for advertising. So think about this. He's using AI for voiceover, so he doesn't need it anymore. He's getting music as well, so he doesn't need a voice artist. Doesn't need music. I mean, how many of these jobs that people do are going to be a voiceover is going to get decimated, particularly for day-to-day, quick little easy stuff. You'll use an AI app. James is going, it's good when it's good, but sucks when it's hallucinating. Misses out important information. It's good if you already know your subject matter already. Yeah, that's it. You need to be well vested in it to see through the BS. One thing I find it really useful for is getting a big fat PDF, chucking it in there and asking it pointed questions about that PDF and getting it to reference things. I wouldn't blindly trust everything it says. It's like a really good parlor trick, but at the end of the day, it's just statistically guessing best responses and doesn't truly understand what it's saying. These aren't sentient, okay? They're not self-aware. It is just a statistical model. So it's not alive, everyone. Which is concerning that people are developing emotional attachments to these things. And I thought about that. Let's talk about this for a second. It's no different to any other work of fiction. You can read a book, watch a movie, play a computer game, or watch a TV series and get sad when it's over because these characters, these people that you've seen their life or interacted with their story or read their journey, they're going away. It's the end. So I can see how people can develop an emotional attachment. But people are starting to use these models to replace interactions with real people. They're believing the conversations are, real. Maybe this is, I'm from a generation that's old enough that we don't need to worry about that, but maybe these young ones. Nope, I keep bringing up this lady because I haven't got the thing set up. Hang on. There we go. Hyper is saying to make vocabulary activities. It's mostly finding words at a certain level. There's already a list, getting their definitions and making tests to test them. Yep. Nathan drives trucks all day. Yeah, that could be at risk. Although we'll see. I don't trust any of the Tesla stuff. I put some of the guys on site onto it when they have grades or falls or squaring to do setting out. Using it myself for quantity surveying, I've had it hallucinate and had to double check. It's good for some tasks, especially when some of the knuckleheads can't do Pythagoras or trig to pitch roofs. Yeah, that's a good point. AI can't do the work I do, Herbert's going. It's awesome for coding. Mechanical engineer. I use ChatGPT to digest large documents to find information faster. Yes, that's similar to what I'm doing. Do you work on government jobs? But when it comes to actual assistance for design and real-world problem solving, it's almost useless. For example, I showed it a photo of an old boiler and asked to point out issues with it and how to solve them. The answers were superficial at best. I find it's useful when I want to get terms that are on engineers' drawings. What's this mean? What's this mean? Or asking questions, and it's pulling stuff from Australian standards. That's really good. I mean, what's the fall of a pipe? And it'll give you the reference. It'll give you that and the Australian standard. So, and of course, I need to check that with engineers, but it's useful that I can use that to get access to stuff which is essentially law in Australia, but you have to pay to access it, which is just bullshit in our construction industry. You got all these Australian standards that you got to pay for. They're law, but you got to pay to access them. And that's just crap. The demographics of your audience is like laughing out loud. Yes, Smooch. Already responded to several BS emails with it this morning. The perfect tool to cut through red tape. It's helpful when dealing with legal stuff. the step before engaging with lawyers. Use it quite a bit to first draft emails. Yeah, I've used it for cover letters. Put some dot points in, then go turn this into a quick letter. Boom, boom, boom. I use it sometimes to tell me how to do things in pieces of software that are used at work if I get stuck. So I guess that counts. And so far, probably 80% of the answers it gives me are either correct or correct enough to get me on the right path. Yeah. I mean, that's really handy. I'm a tradie. AI can't do what I do, but it may be useful for the back office tasks like scheduling, parts ordering. But I like the office chicks. It'll mean you'll have one office chick, not four. So yeah, let's have a bit of a chat, eh? So there we go. We've got a whole lot of examples of how viewers of my channel are using AI, and an argument for why AI is going to come in. Because, well, the government and the unions are already making it very hard to be an employer, so it's going to look very appealing. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. And for those of you that have stuck to the end, if you didn't pick up my little hint I dropped, we are expecting baby number 8, 13 weeks. We just had the nuchal, low risk of any genetic issues, which is always a little concern for us, particularly since we had our little special guy. And yeah, I ask, well, if you're of faith, pray for us. If not, pray for us anyway. It all helps. It'll be boring and an uneventful birth. I'll let you know once we know if it's a boy or a girl. I'm hoping for a boy, but it's going to be a girl. We just keep making bloody girls. Take care, guys. Have a great day. See you next time.